Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. This is the first of our Q&A videos here. And about a week ago I put out a video on YouTube. It said, hey, if you got questions, comment below. And I got nearly 80 of them. So first thing I will say is I'm not going to be able to get to every single one of them. I'm going to do my best and kind of reviewed and picked out some of the top ones that I think would benefit the most amount of people, but I can't do them all. It's just not possible to get to them all. It'd be hours and hours and hours worth of video. That said, let me jump right in. First question is from somebody named Finding Joy 25. Hi, I've watched your recent video on continually researching our health conditions, even when we know what it is and what things we need to try and implement to help our recovery. I'm very guilty of searching for a quick fix cure. I mean, who wants to stick housebound mainly in bed with POTS and ME long COVID? I've been working on mind body for months, but I do get bored. I keep up the practices for a few weeks and then I go off the rails. As if it's not working quick enough, then I go down the rabbit holes of cures and doctors, even though I know there isn't a doctor to cure me. I continually go on this loop around and around. Can you provide any suggestions on how to stay on track? When I delete social media, and particularly Facebook, it helps me as I don't have instant access to health groups. Any other suggestions would be appreciated. So first of all, Finding Joy is a common experience. I always start with foundational, what's going on. All right, and if you've been down the path with the doctors and the treatments and those medical avenues for these conditions, we'll say symptoms, and you've run dry, you have not gotten any type of benefit from the medical system. First question I'll say is, have you done the assessments? painfreeyou.com, download it. And for the various symptoms, then I would absolutely encourage you to do the assessment for each symptom. Now, POTS, we have multiple success stories, painfreeyousuccess.com. Long COVID, same thing, painfreeyousuccess.com. Scroll through the playlist of success stories. So how do you stop from getting dragged into research mode and a quick fix? One is just, once you know that this is a mind-body condition and this is the solution for you, I'm going to encourage you to make a commitment that this deep knowing is what's going on, and I'm not going to bounce back and forth. That's what I call straddling the fence. And when we straddle the fence, it keeps us in doubt. Every time we start looking for a quick fix medical cure, a supplement to take, a doctor visit, a treatment, we're saying, I hope somebody else fixes me, and that takes the burden of responsibility from me. But at the end of the day, these mind-body conditions are our responsibility to resolve, and it does require a decision that I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick with it. Yes, it can get boring, but I will just ask Finding Joy, are you in a state of doubt that perhaps maybe it's not a mind-body condition? Sometimes those success stories can be really beneficial. painfreeyousuccess.com. Watch some POTS and ME long COVID success stories, and you will see people are getting better. So that would be my recommendation. Let's nail down the foundation, understand what's going on, and then make a decision to accept that that's what's going on. And do your best when you notice yourself being tempted to look for the quick fix. Remind yourself, I've been down that path before. That's not my solution. I'm going to stay here. Commit to it. Things can change faster than you might think when you commit to it, and commit to these messages of safety, which I talk about so much. So, thanks, Finding Joy. Next question. Stephanie, 5914. First, I love your videos and watch them daily. Thank you for sharing all your words of wisdom. My question is, I'm so close to being symptom-free from focal leg dystonia, but I have a hard time distracting my brain when I have a quick symptom that may last a few minutes. I've been focused on my walking for 5 years, and at times it's hard to shut my brain off. I do tell my brain that this is just a false alarm. I'm 100% healthy. I'm safe and try so hard to ignore it. I know I'm so close to being symptom-free. I know 100% it's a mind-body condition because I've seen the results. Any suggestions on the last few pieces to convey safety and be symptom-free? P.S. I know I struggle with trust issues from my past. Any advice on trust issues? So those are two separate questions. First of all, you're not supposed to ignore a symptom because when it's there, you will notice it. So judging yourself for failing because you're not able to ignore a symptom is just being unfair to yourself. Symptoms are designed to get our attention. We will notice them. Accept that. If a symptom is there for a few minutes, decide this is not a big deal. Symptoms showing up for a few minutes is not evidence of failure. It's not evidence that you're still, struggling or have a problem. When the brain perceives danger, it can turn on a symptom. Sometimes it can turn on an old symptom. How do you get to 100%? By not caring when or if you get to 100%, right? Sometimes we get symptoms a long time after complete recovery. Complete recovery is not never having a symptom ever again. It's recovery from fear. So, for example, just this past weekend, I had some familiar lower back tension and discomfort, pain, and kind of got my attention. I said, wow, this is really familiar from what I went through for 13 years. But it didn't cause fear because I knew what it was. I checked in and said, okay, there is a stress-based, emotional-based origin for it. That's why it kind of returned and kicked up. And I made a decision to say, okay, I don't need to be concerned with this. It's not like I fell off the roof and landed on a tree log. Nothing happened to me physically. I just started tightening up and starting to get a little discomfort. So, clarity. And then unbothered. I gave it little to no attention or fear. And it was pretty interesting. By doing that, it was gone in about 24, 36 hours. Within a day and a half, it was gone. So, to Stephanie, don't judge that the presence of a symptom, and in your case, for a few minutes, is a failure of any sort. It just means your brain perceives some danger in some aspect. You don't have to figure it out. And struggling to try to prevent that from ever happening again is just putting so much stress on yourself, pressure on yourself, so that if a symptom does show up, it's so easy to get into panic, like, oh no, what am I missing? I'm failing. No, you're not. You're doing amazing. If you've become 95%, my suggestion is stop caring when or if the other 5% goes. Because if a symptom shows up for 5 minutes and it goes away, is that truly a problem that you need to figure out and solve and spend a lot of time and effort on? The perfectionist view of I need to be 100% symptom-free, never to feel anything displeasant again, is what may be actually keeping it coming back periodically. So stop caring about it. Stop giving it fear, attention. If it's there, say, I know what that is. No big deal. As for trust, that's a little bit bigger of a question, and I'm going to defer that one because I'm not sure what type of trust we're talking about. Sometimes people or situations don't warrant our trust if our trust has been broken in the past. And so if we've had our trust broken in the past, it makes it more difficult for us to trust moving forward. That can be a work situation, that can be a interpersonal romantic situation, relationship. It can be a medical situation. I don't know if I trust the doctors, etc. So trust, in my view, is generally earned. And if it's not warranted, then you don't have trust issues. You're just dealing with a situation that may not warrant trusting. So that's my take there. All right, next question from Hemlock, 2181. My question is, how does one tackle a known TMS, PDP symptom that is incredibly stubborn? And this person has globus sensation, the feeling that there's a lump in the throat, and they have overcome a whole bunch of other symptoms through the mind-body approach, but they can't shake off this globus sensation. The crazy thing is I've had it several times before and it went away, but it is incredibly stubborn now. So, David from the UK. Symptoms that are very stubborn are stubborn because they hold the biggest amount of fear, the biggest amount of attention, and continuing to call it stubborn and getting more and more frustrated that it's not going away may be the very thing that's causing the brain to perceive danger and keep it going. So, in my experience, if somebody's got a number of symptoms, the ones that they are less afraid of tend to go first. And the ones that they are most afraid of or has captured their attention the most are the most stubborn. So my recommendation for David in the UK is to take this one last symptom and throw it in the big bucket of, I don't care about that, because it's all the same as everything else I already got rid of. And when you notice it, do your best to not but oh well, whatever. Don't care that it's there. When we put it in the same category of other symptoms that you've already gotten rid of because you weren't nearly as afraid of them, they weren't quite as significant in your view of them, you're more likely to have that stubborn symptom go away. So that's what I got for David. All right, so Kate, a little background. I was in your class earlier this year for about 6 months, made a lot of progress, but to be honest, I'm not where I want to be. Still dealing with symptoms on a semi-regular basis. I still struggle a lot with doubt, even after taking the assessments doing this kind of work. I have OCD as well, so I'm sure that plays into it. I was able to hike 60 miles in a national park in a week, so that's a win. However, when I came back home, I struggled again with my sitting and my daily routine. Any ideas on how I can get unstuck and crush this doubt for good? Okay, so Kate, it's unclear what you're struggling with doubt about. In other words, is there doubt about the cause of the symptom? Do you believe still that there is a physical nature to the symptom itself? And if you were able to hike 60 miles in a week, boy, that's an awful lot of miles. It's 8 miles a day for 5 days straight. So is there a belief that when I hurt, it's a body problem? And if you've got doubt about it, Kate, I would absolutely go to the assessments. You said you've done the assessments. So how do you squash the doubt? Redo the assessment. Go to painfreeyou.com, download the assessment, take it again for this symptom that seems to be stubborn and coming up, and then make a decision to accept it. If you have my book, Kate, Chapter 7 is the big decision. And that is really just making a firm decision to accept that the assessment's accurate. You have proof that it works, because if you can hike for 60 miles over a week, clearly your body is not frail or easily broken. And so sitting pain, there's a process called 6 steps to resuming activity. So let me encourage that you play around with that. Search YouTube for Pain-Free You 6 Steps. And then go through that process to see if you can start to use that process to teach your brain that sitting is actually not a problem. So that would be my recommendation to help crush that doubt. So I appreciate that, Kate. All right, so to continue, question from Lena. I'm doing so much better, still not where I want to be. My question would be, what is the best way or recommendation to handle overreacting and rumination? I find it hard to be calm when I'm under stress and not feeling well. So one is awareness, an awareness that, oh boy, here I am, I'm ruminating. My internal dialogue is spinning on things that are not exactly productive or helpful. And so just an awareness alone can cause us to stop and pause and say, is this helping me? No, it's not. And then we can choose to shift our attention, our focus to something more productive. Now, not too long ago, I talked about a lot of like the safety checklist, and that's a useful video. Look back a couple of days and you should see it. So if you're in an overreaction, overthinking, rumination place, take a time out and say, let me go through that checklist. So look for that video. It's called the 7-Step Safety Checklist. Look for it a couple of days ago. And if you're in a rumination standpoint, it's absolutely what I would recommend you do, just to kind of center yourself. So next, there was a number of people asking about migraines being TMS. So I just want to touch on that in general. I've heard a couple of the mind-body experts, doctors, say that migraines, headaches are always TMS. Once you've ruled out anything organically in the brain, tumors, aneurysms, cancers, things of that sort, and you've got migraines on an ongoing basis, those are always TMS. It's always a perceived danger thing. And we do have a number of migraine and headache success stories. Go to painfreeyousuccess.com and scroll. You will find them. One lady even overcame 43 years of them. It is absolutely perceived danger, and thereby safety is a solution. So for anybody asking about migraines, you're in the right place. Implement this stuff. Don't convince yourself it's something different. You know, for most people who've had migraines for a while, they've had the checkups. They've probably had the MRIs. And if the doctors are saying, we don't see anything that would be causing it, then you can rest assured that you're in the right place. The assessment, again, that's a good way to really nail it down. Notice how your symptoms behave with stress, with emotional situations. And also notice that when you start to get a headache, how you respond can determine whether or not it goes from a headache to a migraine, or if you respond calmly, if it can settle back down. And I've worked with a lot of folks with migraines, and the more we panic, the more intense they are and the longer they last. So experiment. Play with these things and say, okay, I am going to change my response to the onset of a headache and see if I can influence the duration and the intensity. And most likely what you're going to find is that you can. So that's my take on migraines. So my question for Lars Ben: I'm regulating myself throughout the day, breathing, yes, keeping my HRV high and staying in a calm state, but it takes effort and avoidance of certain, especially results-driven activities. Yes, I avoid the self-circuitous. It stays pretty silent. If I avoid the criticism, it stays pretty silent. Yes, I'm experiencing less symptoms, but I don't really tackle the fear. I'm preoccupied with keeping my state in balance. My Garmin watch is pretty accurate as to how I feel. I wonder, should I continue doing this to reach homeostasis and get the hormones in balance? I've been doing this for 3 months now. I've been out of balance for years. Just an example, I'm calm during gaming, playing with the kids, going to a theme park, but my stress peaks when I have to cook. So here's the point. We don't have to manage our daily life with heart rate monitors and breathing and oxygen monitors and everything else. Because the more you do that, the more you're conveying to your brain that there's something wrong with me and I need to manage it. And so the presence of symptoms going up, for example, when you have to cook, well, that's not a happy experience, or maybe it's just not joyous, and you enjoy the gaming better and playing with the kids. And so your brain has somehow connected that cooking is dangerous and things escalate. The key here is that you don't need to manage your life with all of these protocols and practices. Simply put, know that nothing horrible is happening. If your heart rate goes up or your stress level or even symptom levels go up when you do something that your brain is perceiving as dangerous, that's not a big deal. It just means the brain's perceiving danger. So what do? We don't have to manage for months and months and months and try to reach this perfect land of homeostasis biologically. No, we just know that we're actually okay, whether symptoms be there or not, whether the heart rate increases or not, whether we're feeling stressed out or not. We can't create a stress-free life and environment. So if symptoms are there, or if the heart rate is there, how you respond to that is going to be key in determining, or in your brain determining, whether or not this is a problem that needs to be solved. Then my answer would be, I don't believe we need to solve those problems. That's part of life. Things are variable. Things are going to go up and down depending upon your current state of being. So try to define this stuff as less of a problem. So thank you, Lars. Good question. There's a question from Padaki8613. What I find most difficult is when you encounter a new symptom. For example, I had flu. I've had a lot of pain in my shoulder, and after a doctor's visit, it turns out to be a fractured rib after coughing. How do you handle a physical injury in combination with mind-body symptoms? So look, getting checked out is wise, and in some cases, an x-ray determines, okay, I fractured a rib. Here's the deal. Even if there is a fracture, even if there is a true physical injury, my overall approach is trust the body to heal, because it does. It will. It knows how to do that. You and your thinking brain don't really need to be involved in healing a fractured rib. Rest, care, don't do anything, crazy with it. It's pretty straightforward. Just trust the body and teach the brain. If you can trust and stay calm, it's not going to turn into anything persistent. The pain from the fracture will go away when the body heals. Although, with a true injury, we can teach the brain to keep the pain going long after an injury. So the key is calm, safety, trust. We know we're okay. This is not a big deal. So in some cases, we don't have to know the difference between injury and TMS. I had a case where I felt like I pulled a hamstring trying to run up the driveway. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to figure out if it was a true injury or an onset of perceived danger pain. And so my decision was, my response is going to be the same no matter what. So I chose to give it as little fear and attention as possible and trust that the body will heal if that was a true injury and a pull of the muscle. And sure enough, within 3 days, the pain was gone, and it never turned into anything. It turned out to be nothing. I still don't know to this day if it was an onset of perceived danger pain, aka TMS, or an actual injury, a pull. But in either case, it was gone in a few days. No big deal, right? So hopefully that helps. Another question from Tracy. Dan, have you come across hives being a TMS thing? The answer is yes. I randomly have this over the past 2 months, on and off. Doctor said allergic reaction is something initially, but I have noticed that I tend to get it when I'm anxious or agitated. Have suffered with anxiety since age 11, and I'm 59 now. Had all sorts of different symptoms in that time, but never had this before. Has anyone recovered from or come to you with similar issues? So, yes. Oftentimes, skin issues flare with stress. It's a common stress response that we can get hives, we can get eczema can flare, we can have any number of things as a stress response. So TMS, too much stress. The key here is to stress less about these hives and reassure yourself that there's no reason for them. It's very unlikely that you've got something organic going on, especially if they only come out during times of high stress. One of the other things to note is that when we are in the stress response, two systems get suppressed, digestion and immune system. And so let's say there's something going on organically. If your immune system is suppressed, you can get hives because that thing that is going on organically doesn't have an effective immune system handling it. So, treat it like TMS. Look, if it's significant, go see a doctor. If there's an organic cause for it, a true infection, something like that, by all means, work with a medical doctor on that. But there's no harm, there's no downside to responding as calmly as possible, trusting that your immune system is going to knock down whatever's going on, and that you don't have to panic about hives. And the fact that it comes and goes with your stress and emotional state, that's a real solid indicator that you're in the right place. So, let's see. Another one, Morley. Hey, Dan, thank you so much. My question is, when will I know that I can stop fixing myself by watching and reading self-help books and videos? I mean, if I still watch the videos, maybe it teaches my brain that I still need to be fixed and that something is not safe yet. So how can I know when to stop and reduce the fixing process? Great question. So for anybody who's reading a lot of books, I've had people ask me, hey, Dan, I've read this book, this book, this book. What book should I read next? And my question is, do you already understand neuroplastic pain or symptoms, perceived danger and how it creates symptoms, TMS in other words? If you understand that, why do you need another book? Because in many cases, books are written by different people with different approaches. And in some cases, once you understand the core competency that the brain can create symptoms, reading multiple books with multiple protocols and practices and suggestions can just add to the confusion. So I guess the question for this person is this information gathering making you feel safer and more concrete on what you need to do? Or is it creating doubt and fear and confusion as to what approach to take? So how do you know when you can stop or reduce? Reading books is information gathering. Watching videos is information gathering. And I think there's a difference between implementing the things I teach, which is conveying that you're actually safe, that you're okay. I don't view that as fixing. I view that as reassuring and teaching, hey, brain, we're actually good. How do I know? Foundationally, I know what causes symptoms, and this applies to me because I've done the assessments and I've accepted that. So teaching the brain that you're safe is not really fixing. It's just teaching the brain that, hey, you can turn off that false alarm. Fixing, I think, falls into the line of, and I tried these things for a long time, meditation, journaling, breath work, even some somatic practices. People are using these tools to get an outcome. If you're doing something because you want to fix a symptom, you're in the fixing mode. And in that case, the brain can perceive it that, wow, hey, look, Morley is doing 6 hours worth of processes a day. There must be a problem. And so the brain perceives more danger the more we do. So information gathering up front, wonderful. Nothing wrong with that at all. But once you have an understanding, well, let's move to implementation. And am I conveying safety more often than I am conveying danger? So the question to Morley is, are the things you're doing creating a feeling that I'm okay already? Or, oh no, I better figure this out, so let me keep on working, studying, implementing, and doing processes. Ask yourself, are the things I'm doing creating safety or danger? So we're getting on to another question here. Jasu Rocks, Jassurocks. I can keep my question short, but I hope you get something out of this. Been feeling really bad for 2 years now after first getting postpartum depression and then chronic fatigue syndrome due to prolonged stress. When I discovered the mind-body approach about 7 months ago, felt hopeful for the first time in a long time, and I felt better for a little while. However, the brain fog and disassociation, which are my worst symptoms, have not eased for a moment, although the pains sometimes eased a little. So I guess I got frustrated and went back to square one. Now I've started to get really depressed. I don't see any point in anything anymore, and I'm terribly sad all the time. I'd like to ask how I can deal with symptoms that never go away, and when the brain fog makes it difficult to process things. I've done a lot of somatic exercises and tried to approach the symptoms neutrally and continue living normally, but nothing helps. I believe that all my symptoms are completely due to fear and trauma. All physical causes have been ruled out. I have tried to get into therapy many times due to a hard life experiences, but the healthcare situation in my country is so bad that I can't. So I'm completely on my own. Hope you will reply. So first of all, depression in my view is deep, deep sadness with no hope of it getting better. And so just judging from the question that was posed is, I'm really depressed. I don't see that this is going to change. Been doing this for 7 months and got hopeful, but nothing changed. The brain fog is not easing up. And so now that's really scaring me and depressing me. So, clarity. If other people can get better, you can too. Sometimes the thing that keeps the symptoms going is our focus on it and our response to the symptoms. So the more upset we are that the symptoms haven't gone away yet, the more likely they are to stick around. So I will encourage you to scroll back, go to dansyoutube.com, and look for a video about my symptoms haven't gone away yet. And even if you just search YouTube for pain-free you yet, that will give a real good idea as to why symptoms may not have left. And it's one of two things: clarity, and you claim to have clarity that you understand this is a fear-based, perceived danger-based thing. But safety is the other side of it. And safety has a lot of components to it. So yesterday I had a 7-step safety checklist. Go through it. Are you creating safety in the areas that you experience life? If not, go through that video. Again, it was yesterday's video. Go to dansyoutube.com and search for 7-space-step, and you should find it. And that will help you. You're also referring to somatic exercises. You're speaking about therapy. And these are things that are not generally in my wheelhouse of things I recommend. I focus more on perceived danger. It's creating symptoms. Safety is a solution. And yes, some people benefit by therapy, but some people don't. I would not judge that because you can't get therapy, you're never going to get better. I'm not convinced of that, because I have lots of people getting better by following my daily videos without therapy, without digging up the old traumas and focusing on safety now in the present and the fact that I'm not broken. So, Yazoo rocks. I hope that makes sense, but scroll back, look for the 7-step safety strategies. Anyway, that's what I got for you. All right, so this one is for Eric D. Salvinson. Question about a really persistent pain and discomfort that does not behave like the usual perceived danger pain symptoms. I've had pain and discomfort in my lower right sternum and rib area, as well as my upper back on the same side, for approximately 14 months. I suspected slipping rib syndrome, but did the screenings and got checked by an experienced surgeon who confirmed that I do have a loose 10th rib on that side, but apparently that's quite normal. And my adjoining intercostal nerves didn't seem to be affected by any slippage. Short version of the rest of my story: after trawling all the bad neighborhoods Facebook groups, I became certain that I had slipped rib syndrome, which is likely why the symptoms persisted. If you are diagnosing yourself with a medical condition, even though the doctor said not likely causing your symptoms, your certainty that you've got something physically wrong will definitely keep your symptoms going. So they never move. They're not triggered by anything obvious. They're always persistent to some degree. I've had no trauma in my past, no big unresolved emotional issues that I know of, but my symptoms do get worse when I'm stressed. That's an indicator. And anxiety is high. And yes, it came somewhat out of the blue during a stressful period. Another indicator. My question is, what do I do next? Already living life as normally as I can. I decided that it's PDP. I meditate, seek calmness and safety regulation regularly. I'm functioning all right, but it still affects me more than I'd like to admit. So, what's missing is clarity. Half of this question was about disc or rib slippage. And so, clarity. You said, I've decided that it's PDP, but do you really believe that? I'm going to really encourage you to go back and do the assessments. The fact that it gets higher with stress, it's higher and lower at different times. It's clearly a perceived danger symptom, in my view, based on what you've told me. So what do you do next? Rock solid clarity. Make a firm decision that there's nothing wrong with my ribs or sternum. Nothing wrong. Even though it hurts, even though it feels physical, make a firm decision that there's nothing wrong, and then focus on safety. Don't get into doubt. Don't get into those bad neighborhoods. Don't review the things that you've heard and read and what the doctor said. Once you make a firm decision, stick to it and make sure that the dominant thought, the dominant story to your brain is that I'm actually okay. And with that level of clarity and a focus on safety, 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 you may find that you're able to influence this symptom. But from this long question, all about ribs and slipping, you're still on the fence, it sounds like. So, all right, next question. J.M. Oliver. A few days ago, my nervous system went back to normal for one day. Awesome. Felt even better than I felt before my TMS issues started for one day. My nervous system seemed regulated. Then the next day, it was back to dysregulated, TMS mode again. Is this a sign that I'm coming out of it? Why would all my symptoms turn off for one day then turn back on? Simply put, danger, safety, danger, safety. So what that means is you're making progress. For symptoms to turn off for a day means you're being very effective at teaching your brain that I'm actually okay. Why did symptoms come back on? Because the brain still reserves its right to keep an eye out for danger. And after it went away for a day, sometimes, I'm not saying you did this, but sometimes we can say, well, that's great. Boy, I hope they don't come back again. And sometimes even that thought can create a little spark of danger and can cause the symptoms to come back. What I would encourage you to do is say, I was symptom-free for a day. There's my rock-solid proof that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken. I'm not sick. I was symptom-free for 24 hours. So if I can be symptom-free for 24 hours, I can be symptom-free for good. So it's an indication that the brain is recalibrating and learning. And the fact that symptoms went away is awesome. The fact they came back is not a big deal. Let's go back to the mindset and the clarity that you had that caused them to go away in the first place and not really care that they came back. So that's what I got for you. All right. So, Heather Rogerson. I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis nearly 7 years ago. No treatment has helped. My symptoms just keep getting worse. I'm convinced it's TMS. I watch your videos daily. I've read your book. Putting it all into practice. One thing I struggle with is, and this is a what should I do moment by moment question. When I get the pain, should I be going for a wee or trying to put off and retrain my brain that it is safe for urine to be in my bladder? The pain does get rather bad when I put it off. Is that making my brain feel more unsafe? I'd love to know your thoughts, as I don't want to be getting it wrong. So that's a very fear-based question. It's saying, if I feel like I have to pee, should I pee or should I try not to? And with interstitial cystitis, bladder pain is one of the main symptoms. Frequency, urgency, bladder pain. And it's the type of thing where we want to go gradually, but we want to be very clear that, hey, I just went 15 minutes ago, and the fact that I have to go again doesn't mean there's a lot of liquid in my bladder. So two things that I believe we have the ability to control. We can't control the pain. We can't control the urgency or the feeling of needing to go to the bathroom, but we can control the expectation. So, let's say you go to the bathroom, you empty your bladder, clarity. Hey, brain, I just emptied my bladder. We should be good for a while. I expect not to have to go for a while, whatever that may be. Now, bladder and the amount of times that we go to the bathroom depends a lot on our body and how much we're drinking. One of the things I've learned, which is not a TMS thing, but if you chug water, it goes through the system faster and you'll want to pee it out faster. If you sip water more slowly, the body has time to absorb that into the cells and hydrate you better. So if you're the type who's chugging water because you feel like I'm always peeing, I don't want to be dehydrated, I'm going to chug, 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 that in and of itself may have something to do with the fact that, or the reason why you may be peeing so much. But if you're not doing that, and there's not a lot of fluid that comes out, even though you just went 20 minutes ago and you got to go again, and you sit down and you go and it doesn't seem like there's much there, you can start to gradually expand the amount of time. But the key is, in my view, expect that you're going to be okay whether you pee in that moment or not. And if symptoms come along, how you respond to those symptoms with calm, clarity, reassurance. Hey, brain, we just went like 20 minutes ago. Even if there's some fluid in the bladder, it's not an emergency. I don't need to rush there now. So you can turn down the volume on that discomfort and that urge to go. So it's a matter of expectations. I expect that things will get better over time because this is a mind-body condition. These are learned sensations, not necessarily anything physically wrong with me. And then respond as well as you can. There are a number of IC success stories. Go to painfreeyousuccess.com and you will find some of them. Scroll through, look for Ingrid. Ingrid's one of our success stories. I even wrote about her in the book. IC was one of her main symptoms, and you may get some tips on how to navigate this on a daily basis. All right. Let's see. I don't even know. MJOACHIM. Mjochim. Hey Dan, how can I be more confident in letting go and trusting my body when I hear horror stories from other people all the time? I want to trust what the doctors say I can rule out, but it's hard for me to trust their opinions. For example, I've been dealing with inner tremors and jittery feelings for years now. My right hand has not been the same since 2023. Doctors say it's an anxiety disorder. I talked to a friend about this, and he said that is what they told his mother until one day she got out of bed and could not walk. Could have been prevented if they did further testing. Turns out it was a genetic nerve disease. These things stick in my head like glue. Then when new symptoms pop up, I feel lost and my mind goes back to ruminating. Well, look, it's always wise to rule out the big stuff. And if you are having a symptom that sounds like something your friend's mom had, ask the doctor. Please confirm this. Rule it in or out. But we can't always have 42 tests for every symptom that we get. My general rule of thumb is rule out anything life-threatening. Okay? And then we rule in the mind-body condition with the assessments that I've mentioned a number of times throughout this video. The assessments are at painfreeyou.com. Enter your name and email and download the assessment and see how this particular symptom is behaving. If you check off one or more boxes as true, then the symptom is being created by a brain perceiving danger. How do you trust it? Well, the assessment's an aggregation of questions that have been put together by mind-body professionals, doctors, scientists, researchers for decades, since Sarno and all the main people since. And so they're fairly reliable. Again, rule out anything life-threatening with your doctors. And if there's nothing there like that, rule in the mind-body condition, because if it was a physical thing, it wouldn't behave the way the questions in the assessment indicate. So trust is challenging, but that's what I believe there. So how do you overcome Rosemary Pilkington? How do you overcome the oldest symptom that seems to not want to fade away? I've been successful in getting other symptoms to fade away, so I must be feeling safe. I know this is TMS, yet my subconscious hangs on to that fear symptom. Earlier in this video, I did a response to one stubborn symptom, the globus. I think it was one of the first few questions that I answered. Yeah, it was the third question I answered in this very video. So go back to that. Basically, one symptom that sticks around is sticking around because there may be more doubt about the cause of that symptom, or if you're crystal clear that it's TMS, perceived danger, it may just be that it's been around the longest and holds a bigger place of fear and attention in your life. So what I encouraged that person with the globus sensation was to put that stubborn sensation that you're talking about in the same bucket as the things you've already gotten rid of. It's no different. It comes from the same place, a brain perceiving danger. So let's stop calling it a stubborn symptom, and let's just call it the one that's been around the longest and had the most amount of fear. But it's the same exact thing as all the other ones that you've already taken care of and had fade away. Put them all in the same bucket. All TMS. So, mind-body or body-body? Could it be both at the same time, one feeding the other or creating a vicious circle of symptoms? This is from Hannah. In my view, I've seen very, very few hybrids where it's both. And that's a really tricky area, because if you say, well, I've got bone on bone in my knee and that's why it hurts. Well, lots of people have bone on B and they don't hurt. So what is it? I'm going to refer you back to the assessments again, because the assessments will help you flesh out the difference between a body-body problem, something physically wrong, and a mind-body problem, which means the body's okay, but the brain is perceiving danger. Could it be both? I don't know. I've heard some people talk about hybrid, possibly. And if that is true, it's because the body may be creating a slight amount of symptom, but a brain perceiving danger takes this amount of symptom discomfort and magnifies it really big. And so do the assessment. If it indicates perceived danger as the cause, then treat it as such. And I think you will do better that way than you are if you say, well, I have TMS, I have perceived danger pain, but I also have a physical problem, because the brain's not going to turn down or turn off something which you are certain is caused by a flaw in the body. So we also have a question from Panda Eyes. I've had much improvement with my symptoms. I've gone from being unable to work to working full-time and getting my driver's license this year. Thank you. One issue still persists is my inability to squash my tinnitus. It's hard to ignore like pain or fatigue because of the noise. I've had success challenging it and making it disappear, but only for a few short bursts of time before it comes back with a vengeance. Do you have any suggestions for me? Is it my own fault because it annoys me so much? It's not your fault. It's annoying. Lots of people are annoyed by tinnitus. But generally, the less fearful you are of it, the less annoyed you are, the less you will notice it. So I was at a workshop at the Mind-Body Conference in Boulder, and somebody speaking on tinnitus said there's two important questions to ask. How often do you notice it? And when you do notice it, how bothered are you by it? And if you don't notice it much, and if you're not very bothered by it, then is this truly a problem you need to solve? And it's the type of thing where you can't ignore it. You will notice it. You will notice the sound. But also notice that if you're engaged in life and doing something interesting or fun or productive or meaningful, how much are you noticing it when you're fully engaged somewhere else? Probably a lot less. So when things settle down and you have a quiet moment where you don't have to do something or you're not engaged in life, if you notice it, do your best to respond as if it's no big deal. Not a big deal, right? The more annoyed you are at it, the longer it's going to stick around. And I do believe that we can make a decision to be less bothered by something. But how much do you notice it? And when you do, how bothered are you by it? And do your best to shift attention to living your life. So that's what I got for you. Here's another question from Gina Munoz. Can fear come from the subconscious? Absolutely. When symptoms increase, a little fear comes along, though I have now the right mindset and I know what to do. So I can't figure out consciously why fear comes to the scene. So it's very common for the brain to perceive danger either consciously or subconsciously. The brain's always scanning for danger, always looking to see what's going on and whether or not it needs to turn on an alarm. So you don't have to figure out exactly what the brain is perceiving as dangerous. You can simply jump right to reassuring your brain that, hey, nothing bad's going on. We're good. We're safe. Nothing horrible is happening. So yes, it can come from the subconscious. Great question, though. And the last question. How can I actually engage more in life? I try to live a normal life. Or how can I engage more in life and live a normal life when the pain is so strong and constant? I try, but it's kind of frustrating because I feel like I understand all these concepts, yet it doesn't feel like the pain is going away. I feel like the pain going away is 100% up to me. It is. When you actually implement this stuff, is it just a matter of time until the back pain goes away on its own? No, it's a matter of safety. And so it is very frustrating. When the pain is there all the time, the key is to be less bothered by it because you know what's causing it. So living your life by itself is not a solution. And I did just do a couple of days ago 7 simple safety checklist. And ask yourself, and this is for Marco, ask yourself, am I creating safety in the various ways I am experiencing life? Mentally, emotionally, physically, how I deal with myself, how I respond to symptoms. Am I engaging in life? And do I have the right mindset that says, I'm actually okay? I'm not broken. So implementing stuff means all that, not just I'm living my life even though I have pain. That's not implementing the full set of recommendations. So for anybody whose question was not answered, my apology. It's really difficult for me to try to tackle 80 questions. I think we've gotten about 20 or 25 questions today. If you have another question, comment below, and we'll see if we can tackle it next time I do this. But if you'd really like to sit down and have a discussion with me, consider the group coaching, because we do this stuff in the group 4 days a week, 3 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 sessions on Wednesday. But even better than this, we'll have a one-on-one conversation where I can ask you questions. I can see where you're at and what might need tweaking or some help. So consider that, painfreeyougroup.com, and we can answer all the questions you've got and have some dialogue where you can get some direct coaching from me. So if you got a question that wasn't answered, comment below. Try to give whatever detail you can as to your level of understanding, what's causing symptoms, if you've done the assessments, and really where you're struggling. And I'll do my best to tackle more questions the next time I do this. Hopefully you folks found this valuable and interesting. And I appreciate you as always. So talk to you folks soon. Love you. Take care.